Hey, this is John Acuff, and I am in Nashville, Tennessee today with the final video tip about the Finnish calendar. Hopefully these have been helpful and have been things that have given you a chance to rethink some way you're using the calendar or try it in a different way. That's been the goal. It's just to say, hey, I've used this for years and years and years. Here are some tips that have helped me get the most out of it. So today I'm going to talk about something really simple. I think if you find a system and it works, you should continue using that system. That's just a principle of mine. And I don't have a ton of systems. I'm really not a good systems guy. I'm trying to learn. I see the value of them. I know that life is easier with greater clarity and I'm able to get more done. I've written about this a couple times. I love that there's stories about guys like Einstein and Barack Obama and other leaders saying, you know what, I'm going to wear two things. That's what I'm going to wear. And I don't have to think about anything else. For me, I'm not into fashion. So that's a system I dig. I dig that you're probably going to see me in these videos in a gray sweater or a black sweater. Like that's what I'm going to do. There'll be a gray shirt under it or a black shirt under it. There's not going to be 50 different looks. Now, I should change and have different, things I wear on stage and speeches so that it's not like every photo is me in this one purple shirt. I went through a phase where it was kind of like Prince's picnic blanket, and I would show up at events wearing the shirt on stage that was in the photo they had for me. That's not the best. I need to own more than a shirt. But that's a system for me when I'm at home, when I'm working out of my home office or I'm working out of some coffee shop. It kind of simplifies things. I go, okay, I rock a gray sweater, I rock a black sweater. I don't have to think about that. It gives me a bunch of other space for creativity and ideas to apply to other things. So I do like systems. I'm not great at them, but there's a couple that I've used for years that have been helpful. One of them is a calendar. I love using the calendar year after year. And the way I do that, I've talked about this before, is I mount the next year to the previous year. So here's 2018. You flip it around, here's 2019's version. So that I know at any time, if I need to get a quick look at what happened last year, I have a sense of that, especially at the beginning. Like when you're doing January, February stuff, and December is just 1 month before, and you're like, wait a second, when did that happen? Or did I already do that? I think it's really helpful to be able to go, let me flip it around. Let me see what's on the back side of that. For me, that's helpful. I know some other people that will hang them on their walls and they'll keep the previous year up on the wall. And so the new year is kind of the place of honor. And then the previous year is off to the side so that they can kind of see where things might overlap. Often projects, I don't know about you, projects I work on don't always end on December 31st. It's not like they're like, all right, clean break. I have a lot of things that overlap. So I think that's helpful. Another reason I use it year after year is it serves as a point of memory. I'm going to show you the very first year I used it. This is the 2012 year. It's the very first year I used the calendar. You can see the design is super different. It wasn't even a finished calendar. And I was looking at it today and I realized that on February 2nd, I was in Dallas, and that's when I got to have lunch with Zig Ziglar. I got to go to lunch with Zig Ziglar, and that was awesome. And that was an amazing moment. But even amazing moments, I have a hard time keeping up with because there's just so much life that happens. Like our years are really full. And so having that as a record is really fun to me because it reminds me of the things I got to ask Zig about and his son, Tom, and hear from them. Zig, one of the things he told me, he said, if you can get home before 1 a.m., if you can get into your bed from a trip before 1 a.m., do the late flight. Do the late flight, do the late flight, do the late flight. He really encouraged me, get home. Like I know it might be easier for you to stay at the hotel, come back the next morning, doesn't matter. It matters that you're there that night before and you wake up with your kids. And he said, so as much as you can, as you're out there hustling, as you're out there grinding, get home, get home, get home. And that was really encouraging. And that's the kind of memory that a calendar holds. And it's not a huge thing, but it's this little placeholder almost, this little thumbtack in my otherwise busy year that I can say, okay, I still have that. And they're flat. I slide them behind like a cabinet, and it's not like I'm not having these calendars all over the place. I think I have like 7 or 8 years at this point. That's ridiculous, but I know that I have them if I need to access something. The other thing it helps you do is it helps you look back and go, okay, I've made progress or I've changed. I'm going to show you another year. This was 2013. And you can see in 2013, do you see all the circles? You see all those circles? Like tons and tons of circles. Whoa, so many circles. What those represent are days where I had travel. So days that I was either flying to something or days that I was at something. Those are days where travel impacted my schedule. So I know that one of the things I try to do is I try to work really hard and do as many of the right speaking gigs as I can. I love public speaking. It's my jam. Like, it's my favorite thing to do. And I love, 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 love that. I also try to balance that with having 2 kids and a beautiful wife and being home. So there's the balance. I would say that year I traveled a bunch. I had a bunch of travel. So I know I can look at that year and go, okay, so each one of those days was impacted. How many days do I want impacted? What do I need to say no to? What do I need to say yes to? Like, what are the opportunities that really, really matter that I need to focus on? What are the ones that I just need to say somebody else would be better at that? Or I can't do that one in this season of my life. Stuff like that gives me another indication. It gives me a huge, huge reminder of, okay, I worked a lot on this one part of my career in this year, and here's what it looked like. Okay, I want to tweak a little bit. And it becomes this visual record so that I can easily say, oh, okay, that was, too much, or that was the wrong focus, and here's something I want to try instead. Or I see this big wide open window of opportunity. I need to fill that with some. Like, I see this big kind of open space that requires some new gigs. Like, I need to focus on that. It just gives me another tool for me to say, this is working, this other thing isn't working. And I really appreciate that. And I love that I get to see that over a yearly basis. I think it's funny. Sometimes people say, like, what's your 5-year plan or what's your 10-year plan? And I do try to have a sense of what I'm doing the next few years. Like, I don't have specific dates necessarily, but I know I'm going to try to kind of look at my schedule and say, I want to do 2 books. Like, I've got 2 book ideas over the next 4 years. It takes me roughly 18 months to 24 months to get a deal plus release it. So I know that's what the schedule looks like. And then the next one will be here. So I have a rough sense of that. And I can go, oh, okay, the election year is going to impact this part of my business, and this other part will be impacted. And so I have some sense of that, but it's easier for me to say, what really happened? Like, what really happened? Did my goal line up for with the execution? Like, did I execute against the things that I started with? Did I travel the amount I wanted to travel? Did I spend time with my family the amount I wanted to? And having a record is really helpful. So my hope is that the calendar will be a tool that's really helpful to you, and one that you go, this system works for me. Like, the way I use it, the way I tweak it, the way I record things on it works for me. That's my hope with the Finish calendar. Again, it's just a calendar that I used for years and years and years, and then thought, wait a second, if it works for me, there's a good chance it'll work for other people. So hopefully that's been the case with you. I hope you have a great rest of your year. Use the heck out of the calendar, and certainly connect with me online when you see me around. I'm just at Jon Acuff on both Twitter and Instagram, and I'm always posting content there. So thank you so much for checking out this video series. Hope the tips have been helpful. Thanks.